was the best employee you could ever want. I was the team player. I went above and beyond. I was going to make myself invaluable and indispensable because that's what, it was like security comes from someone else paying you that paycheck. And the biggest risk is doing something where you could lose that. And so be good, be a team player, work really hard, do all of those things. And I did that for 15 years, out of school. And then one day I had climbed up into an executive role and I was sitting in my office, my beige windowless office, and under fluorescent lights. Yeah. And I just started to have a panic attack. And I was like, I cannot do this for the rest of my life.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit, where we have an amazing entrepreneur here to share her story. Welcome, Shannon Mattern. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so pumped to have you because Shannon is a pricing specialist who works with experienced service providers and consultants who want to make more from the work they're already doing. And you talk about profit, you talk about pricing, so we are already fast friends. I love this. So let's dive right in. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh my gosh, I wanted to be a chef. And I also thought that I could be a Muppet. I did not realize that they were not real. And I wanted to be like on the Muppet Show. So yeah, those were my two big ambitions as a child.
I love that for you. And I'm so sad that you couldn't grow up to be a Muppet.
I know. It's disappointing.
But as a chef, the question, what's for dinner, comes every night. So I'm sure you can still live out your chef dreams.
Exactly.
So what were you taught about money as a child?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was taught that you earn money in exchange for your time, and that is the only way to make money. And your goal in life should be to educate yourself so that you can raise the value of your time so that you can sell your time for money. So the message I received was make sure that you do really well in school, make sure that you figure out a way to go to college because we can't afford that, but that's the way that you're going to be able to do better than we did and make sure that your time is really valuable so that you can get the good paying job, climb the corporate ladder and be safe, secure, save for retirement, work till you're 65, and then you can enjoy the rest of your life after that.
Right. So you can live your life later when you're older and love it.
And hopefully you're healthy and, all of the things. Yeah.
So part of your journey started following that path. So you did go to college, did get the corporate job, and then decided, no, this is killing me. So tell us a little bit about that early journey in your career of yes, checking off all the boxes. I'm doing the right things to bring me that wonderful freedom in 50 years. Tell us that story.
Yeah, I was the best employee you could ever want. I was the team player. I went above and beyond. I was going to make myself invaluable and indispensable because that's what, it was like security comes from someone else paying you that paycheck. And the biggest risk is doing something where you could lose that. And so be good, be a team player, work really hard, do all of those things. And I did that for, 15 years, out of school. And then one day I had climbed up into an executive role and I was sitting in my office, my beige windowless office and under fluorescent lights. Yeah. And I just started to have a panic attack. And I was like, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. Is this it? Is this everything that I was, working so hard for? I was in an executive marketing role at the company that I worked at. And I had also been in charge of all of our website projects and also taught myself web design along the way. It was a small nonprofit. We wore all the hats. And so I had also built some of our websites and things like that. And one of our vendors had reached out to me and was like, hey, who built the continuing education website you guys use? And I was like, oh, I did that. I just figured out how to do that. And he goes, do you do any work on the side? And I was like, no, but I could. Sure. Why not? And he was like, well, how much do you charge? And I'm like, getting out my calculator. Well, this is what my salary breaks down to hourly. So that much. And he's like, you're hired, sold, let's get started. That was kind of the first inkling that, like, oh, maybe there's something else out here for me.
So from that first moment, how long till all the freelancing and the web development and the nights and weekends until you were like, peace out, corporate job. I'm going to hang up my own sign and say, Shannon is open for business.
It took me about 3 years of trial and error because my goal was, I'm like, I got to replace this salary. I'm not leaving this 6-figure job with insurance paid for. Like, I had the golden handcuffs on, right? And I was way too risk averse to just leave. So I'm like, I'm going to hustle so hard and I'm going to at least replace my salary. If I can do that 2 months in a row, then I'm putting my notice in. Well, what I didn't realize is that I was never going to do that, charging hourly and selling my time and trying to like price the way that I was pricing. I was pricing based on my perceived costs and my perceived value. I was like, I didn't go to school for this. I can't charge as much as like an agency. It was so focused on, and I was also like, and this is really easy. Like anybody could do this. I taught myself. I figured, why would someone pay me? I had so much mind trash around my value, pricing, money. And so I really spent those 3 years building excellent websites for clients, but it was a disaster on my side. It was completely unsustainable. I quit doing that altogether. And I was like, well, if it's so easy, why don't I just teach other people how to do it? I'd heard about affiliate marketing. I was like, oh, I could just teach people and earn affiliate commissions off the back end. I went that route for a while, started making some money doing that. But then people were like, yeah, this is great that you're teaching us how to do this for free, but I don't want to do it. Can't I just pay you to do it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is happening here? Like, I'm showing you how to do it for free and you still want to pay me? Like, I had so much messed up money mindset stuff. And then finally it dawned on me, like, they're paying for the value of the outcomes and results that they can create as a result of this revenue generating asset that I've created for them. They're paying me so that they don't have to spend their time doing it. And that costs them so much more than they could ever pay me. So it was like a 3-year journey of me figuring out like what I do is valuable. I can charge way more for it. And I'm not ripping people off and I'm not taking from them. And it's not the money doesn't work the way that my parents told me that it worked, growing up. That was kind of that 3 years of just like trial and error and just learning learning that the world worked differently than I thought it did.
Exactly. And it's amazing because sometimes it does take 3 years to rewire our brain and figure out what we bring to the marketplace does have value. And we need to charge for the value that we bring, not a low hourly rate. And all of the mindset trash, using your term, weighs so heavy, especially a lot of female entrepreneurs. We have all of these beliefs that like we can't charge as much and I don't have that degree or that certification or I haven't been doing it long enough. When in fact, what we're bringing to the marketplace is beautiful and valuable and we should be charging accordingly. Tell me about one of your early financial wins, either freelancing or out on your own where you're like, I can do this. This is going to work.
I think it was that first month that I was like, I made my salary this month from web design projects, from commissions from the affiliate marketing stuff that I'm doing, from all of these different places. I'm like, people are paying me for something that I love doing. And it is so fun. And it is so much better than this day job that I really don't love. And I remember that moment was like, okay, this is possible. This is absolutely possible. Let's do this one more time. And I'm putting my notice in. And so it was really just realizing, like adding it all up and being like, wait, what? Let me double check that number. Like, did I do it? I did it.
That's fabulous, fabulous. And so once you turn in your nose and you were full-time doing the web design, you talked about moving to value pricing. So once you started raising your prices, what ripple effects did you see from that? Were clients screaming? Were clients yes? Revenues go up, profitability goes up. What did all of that look like for you?
Well, for me, I was still terrified to do it, right? So I was just like, is someone really going to pay 3,000 for a website, 5,000 for a website, you know, and I was really still kind of like testing and like playing around with like how I talked about it and realizing like, I'm not selling a 10-page website. I'm selling, you know, that you're going to actually convert more of the traffic into leads and like learning how to talk about it. And then I met someone, his name is Paul Klein, and he had this podcast called Pricing is Positioning. And I had started a podcast called Pep Talks for Side Hustlers, which I ran for like 3 years. And Paul came on and he was teaching me about the concept of pricing is positioning and anchoring, price anchoring. And I was like, this is the missing piece for me, because what was happening for me and a lot of my other colleagues who are running different kinds of service-based businesses is that we were providing like first class level of service, but still just charging like business class prices, right? And so, yes, I was making more money, but on the flip side, I still had an employee mindset where I'm like, well, the more you pay me, the harder I have to work, the more responsive I have to be. Yep, if you text me at all hours of the night because you paid me this much, I need to like be on call for you. They didn't ask me to do that. That was just still my messed up employee mindset coming in. And so when Paul taught me about how pricing is positioning and how to anchor high and all of those things, I was like, this solves so many more problems than just being able to charge more. I can differentiate between like, do you value your money or do you value your time? And I can put some options in front of you that if you don't care more about your keeping your money and spending your time, great. I can give you something that you can take over the finish line. If you don't want to touch it at all and you want me to be at your service, I'm going to charge way more for that than what I've been charging. And I can put these options in front of you and let you decide. Do you value your time or your money? Because before that, I was deciding for them because I thought everybody just valued their money more than their time. And then once I tested that out, I was like, people are choosing my highest price package and the highest level of service, even when my expense mindset mind was like expecting them to want to pay the least amount. So that's really like the big shift that happened when I started being like, here are your options. We're going to fly from New York to LA. Either way, you're going to walk away with what you need. What do you want that experience to be like? How much work do you want to put into it versus what I'm doing for you? And that shift like changed everything.
So let's bring profit into this. So a lot of service providers think like just selling more, getting more clients, selling more packages is the answer. So when did you target in that, it's actually what I keep, not what I make? When did profit show up for you as the answer?
You know, when I had started doing some affiliate marketing and I was like, let me teach people and I'm just going to like build this big audience and, you know, I'll earn my affiliate commissions off the back end from the hosting companies and the email marketing companies and all of that. That was like great. I was earning like $5,000 a month in commissions. And then I was like, I'm going to like sell a course to them. I'm going to teach them how to market their business. So I put all this time, effort, energy, resources, whatever, into selling this like $97 a month membership. And that thing was harder to sell than a 5-figure website. And that's when I realized, I was like, it's just like, it is just as easy to sell something for 5 figures as it is to sell something for $97. So why not just put my time, effort, energy, and resources into selling higher ticket offers? Maybe I don't sell as nearly as many, but it's way more profitable and way less time for me. And so I think like, I don't know if you were consuming online business content in the 2020 era, but that was like, everybody was like, build an audience, scale, sell a course, like all of the things. I made money, but I didn't make the kind of money that I wanted to be making. And I was working so hard, and the overhead for that of all of the tools that you need. And to really make it work, you have to invest in paid ads, which I dabbled here and there, but I really wasn't, I'm risk averse, right? So I really wasn't going to I just couldn't get myself to do what would have been required to like grow that big. And so, I think it was the realization that the amount of effort and resources that I'm putting in to do traffic marketing and build this huge audience to sell a lot of something that's priced really low when I could just work a lot less and price appropriately and do the work I need to do to really shift my money mindset and get really good at selling something like that is way more lucrative and profitable than doing it the other way.
You also talk about creating a business that supports your life instead of the other way around. Tell me about that and how you've created the life that you love now.
So since starting working with web designers and doing freelance web design and like all the pricing and the business stuff and solving a lot of those challenges, I also started getting web designers coming to me and saying, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I have all my systems. I can teach them to you. And, let's just do like a 12-week thing. And every week you can come and I'll like teach you everything I know. That was like 2016, 2017 that I started doing that. And that grew into what is now the Web Designer Academy. And I stopped doing freelance web design in 2019 because the Web Designer Academy had grown so much that I'm like, this is it. This is my favorite thing to do, is to help other women overcome the challenges that I had. Like, I want to shortcut it for them. I don't want them to spend 3 years. I don't want them to have to spend that much time touching the stove, as I say, to then figure out on their own all of the things that I figured out the hard way. And so part of that, though, part of being able to grow that business was getting really clear on my boundaries and when I do work and when I don't work, and all of the things that I learned in my freelance web design business, that like, oh, I get to set expectations on how communication's happening, when it's not happening, all of those things up front. That is what I brought to what we do now. And that's what I teach our students. And so it really was about like sitting back and being like, what is my vision for my perfect day, my perfect week, my perfect month, my perfect season? And then very intentionally building the business around that. And I say, like, I have a saying, Mondays and mornings are mine. I do not schedule client stuff on Mondays. I don't schedule anything before noon. And I had to just guard that time. It's possible for us, right? If you don't believe that your clients are the boss, and you believe it's a collaborative partnership and that you're the leader and that you're the one running the show and that it's your business and you get to make all of the rules, which we didn't get to do in corporate. But if you believe that you can do that in your business, then you absolutely have total power to create the balance that you want. You just have to believe that it's safe and that all of your clients won't leave and that they, there's all of this stuff that we have to overcome. Like, oh, well, they're going to be disappointed if I don't get back to them right away. And then, you spiral into they're going to tell all their friends to never work with me. And you just have to unwind that conditioning that made you be the good girl who's going to make sure that they keep their job
and behaves and be the star student in your employer and make them wealthy and have them succeed in life when you're sitting there in a beige office dying. So now you're spending your time investing in females that want to become web designers and consulting them. So tell us what you're doing these days and how you're helping and supporting that community.
So like I said, for the past 10 years now, wow, we've been helping women web designers who kind of found themselves where I was, just like, it's a hot mess. They're not charging right. And, they have all of the skills and they want to make more from the work they're already doing, work less, stop letting their clients treat them like their bosses. So we've been doing that for 10 years. And we also we just taught them pricing strategy, right? We taught them the sales process. We taught them how to structure their offers in the way that I shared earlier of like putting options in front of your clients that allow them to decide whether they want to spend their time or money. We call that the package matrix. And we've been doing that for years. And then last spring, I had gone to a retreat with some other entrepreneurs of all different industries. And, we're just talking about, what do you do? And I was sharing, I help them with pricing and packaging and all of this stuff. And then we're kind of getting into the meat of everything. And the same exact words are coming out of these women's mouths, like that I hear from web designers on the challenges that they're having, dealing with clients, pricing, like all of the things. And I'm sitting here going like, they're saying the exact same things I've been hearing out of the mouths of women web designers for 10 years. It's the same. And so I was like, guys, I have this tool that I think maybe would help you. It's called the package matrix. I'd love to like share it with you if you think it would help. And so I've had like a ballroom dance studio owner, digital marketing agency, podcast producer, a perfumery, like so many different types of industries apply this strategy to be able to like test out raising their prices and set boundaries with their clients and shift out of cost-based pricing to value-based pricing. And so that's really what I've been doing this year, is like taking that package matrix and pricing strategy, pulling it out of the Web Designer Academy and introducing it to more types of business owners who are experiencing like, how can I charge more than everybody else when everybody else is charging this and the market rate is this and the going rate is this and people don't have money, or I'm already at the top of my rate. How can I shift to that? And just helping them with all of those challenges that they have. So that's the work that I've been doing. And it's so fun to see different business models and how we can package matrix their offers.
This is fantastic. When it comes to pricing, the mindset is a huge piece, and the limiting beliefs, and I don't have the value, and people are undervaluing. But what do you see people are doing when they're looking at the numbers and messing up when it comes to pricing? Because as CFOs, one of the first things that we do with our clients is help with pricing, because there's so many things that people get wrong when it comes to pricing. But in your experience, not the mindset piece, but the actual like numbers and the calculator, where do you see people making mistakes when it comes to pricing?
They figure out their cost for delivery, and that's what they use for their price. They're like, oh, in a perfect world, if I want to, just like the mistake I made back in the day, like, oh, I want to make this much money. And it's even still, it's like, I want to make this much money. These are my monthly expenses. This is what I think I should set aside for taxes. So this is my hourly rate. And I think that this web design project is going to take me this many hours, and therefore this is the price. And I'm like, you're missing so much opportunity here to not make the price about you. That number is important to know. Like, I'm not saying like we just don't figure that number out. We need to know that number. We need to know the cost of you running your business and meeting your obligations. But also, that's the floor. And how do you take that number then and look at who's your target market? What are their problems that you're solving? What's the value of solving that problem? How do you solve that problem for them? And then building your price from there, going no lower than your cost.
Absolutely. I love it. When we do pricing, we always start at the bottom of the P&L. How much profit do we need? What's our overhead? What are our direct costs? And that's what we're going to charge. Like, you
not asking Chat GPT, how much do other people charge for this in my area? That is neither here nor there, completely irrelevant.
Yeah, you've got to understand your direct costs. You've got to understand your fixed costs. And then you've got to make sure that you're profitable. Like, I've seen so many people just take their direct costs and like double it or triple it or add 30% or some arbitrary number that they're pulling out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, but you realize the more you sell, the faster you're going to be broke, because selling more at a loss just makes you broke faster. So it's amazing how many people make a huge misstep with their pricing.
And then they're hustling to fix it or cover it, or they don't know what's going wrong and they burn out and they go back to their corporate job or whatever ends up happening.
Absolutely. 100%. Let's go. Let's fix it. Come on. So as the CEO of your business, what numbers do you track monthly to make sure that you're on track and you do have the life that you want to live with the money that you want in the bank so that you can have that flexibility and that freedom?
All of them. We project like what our expenses are. So we have a budget and a plan for like, what do we expect to spend every single month on everything that we need to run the business, tools, team, taxes, all of those things. Then we look at, what are we expecting to come in? based on like previous years, based on seasonality, and based on like what we're planning in terms of our marketing, and looking at just cash flow too. So like if we know, let's say for us, November, December, and January are usually like lower months for us, then making sure that we either have the cash flow to cover that because we expect that, or we make some decisions to spend less because we expect to not have the cash flow for that. So we're looking at all of that every single month. I actually do an income report on my podcast every single month where I look at the previous month. I look at like, what was our inflow? What was our outflow? How much did we add to our reserves? Maybe we had to take some out. Why, and what were all of the lessons that we learned along the way. And that is hugely helpful for me to reflect on it in a way that's like different than just like, oh, there's either a plus or a minus, you know, in the P&L at the end of the month, and really reflecting on that. So I look at all of it. We look at all of our KPIs too. How many people came to the website, booked a discovery call, like all of those things. Are those trending up, trending down? What do we need to look at? So I might be a little obsessive about it, but it's necessary to know all of that stuff.
You have to know your numbers. You can't succeed as an entrepreneur and as a founder and a CEO if you don't understand your numbers. I love it. So Shannon, what is next for you? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so I think what's on the horizon for me is testing out package matrix with more service-based businesses and more types, and seeing how creative we can get with that strategy. Like, it's been the linchpin of our whole entire Web Designer Academy program for the past 10 years. And now we're like bringing it outside of that to help other people. So that's really what's next. But also business as usual, growing the Web Designer Academy, continuing to help women web designers, continuing our Profitable Web Designer podcast. I think about that day when I was in my beige windowless office under fluorescent lights having a panic attack. And I also think about every single day now, I'm like, I get to do what I love, and how is this my life? And it is such a difference. And there is no way in this world I would ever go back and work for anyone else ever. I will take all of the risk, uncertainty, all of the challenges, all of the unexpected things, the good, the bad. Like, this is a million times more rewarding than that ever was.
Shannon, this has been fantastic. Where can people go to connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to shannonmattern.com. And from there, if you are a web designer, you can get on over to our Web Designer Academy website. And if you're a service provider, you'll see more information there on our Anchor High strategy and our package matrix.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much. Look, listener, if you need help understanding your numbers, you don't know what KPIs to even track, you can't even find your numbers, we would love to help you with bookkeeping, fractional CFO, tax strategy, and tax filing. We help service providers get all of that done in one house. Just go to pamjordan.com, schedule a call with my team. That's all for today's episode of Pivot to Profit. Remember, it's not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.